All right, welcome back to part 5 of creating an antique gumball machine in Blender. So where we left off last time was a little bit of a longer tutorial, but we got this lock or I keep calling it a lock because it looks like an antique padlock, but this coin mechanism with the crank handle all created. As you remember, we made this all out of one continuous piece of geometry, which is really fun and made a really nice edge flow. And we also made this little crank mechanism. So today, we're basically going to try to get this glass in there. And we want to, if you look closely, there's a little bit of a metal rim, I think, that the glass kind of fits into. We'll create that. We'll create the glass. And then, hopefully, we'll even have time to create this top piece. These should all be, fairly simple compared to what we've been doing. So let's see if we can just beast mode through this and how much we can get done. All right, so the first thing we want to do is create that inner lip where basically the bottom of the coin machine or the gumball machine will be where the gumballs rest. And if you remember in Ref, we have this circle, which is roughly the right size for the inside of this machine. I'm just going to use this circle now, so I'm just going to put this into Gumball Machine, turn off Ref, and we'll just rename this, I guess, I don't know what to call this, inside floor, I guess, because it's kind of like the floor of where the gumballs will rest. So I'm going to go to Front View, turn on X-ray mode, and just bring this circle up until it's right at the same height as these other pieces. I'm going to go into Edit mode. And I'm going to extrude this and then scale it in. Now you can see we're scaling towards the cursor again because I forgot to go back to median point. Scale this into, let's say, about there. And then I'm going to go into edge mode, select this outer edge ring. I'm going to extrude it twice on the Z axis. So I'm going to extrude, hit Z to go straight down, do one right there, and then extrude again, probably like, let's say, that far. And we're going to go ahead and put on maybe I shouldn't have used this circle because I think I used 128 vertices for this. Yeah, let's just start over. Because once you put the subdivision surface on, you're going to end up with a lot of faces. So let's just add a new circle. And we'll make this. Let's see if we can even do it with 32, because the subdivision surface will add a lot. So take our circle. Where is it? We added a circle somewhere. Circle. Oh, we added it to the wrong collection. That's why. Circle. Make it the size of our opening. Go into edit mode. Extrude about that big. Go into edge mode, take this outer edge. Well, I guess we should bring everything up to the right height first. And then extrude down a very short amount, and then extrude down a much larger amount. So now we have this. We'll shade smooth, put on a subdivision surface, and that way, it still looks nice and round, but if that had been 128 vertices, it would have been way too busy. If we look at our wireframe, it's not bad, but it would have been crazy if we had used that other one. So good thing I caught that. Now there are little gaps between like here and here. I feel like the best way to do that would be just to actually fix that on our gumball machine. Now, we don't want to affect anything below the top level. So I'm going to go into X-ray mode, vertex mode, select everything on the bottom half, and hide it. And really, we just want to be affecting these pieces. So I'm going to select this outer edge, and I'm going to press plus on the selection until we get to there, and then hide that as well. So now we're just looking at these pieces. And with the cursor in the center, and with 3D cursor as our scaling pivot, what we can do is just kind of scale these things in until it looks more round. So let's actually turn on solid without X-ray. Or actually, we still want X-ray because we need to be able to select all the way through. I think that looks fine, so we'll just do that for each of those. And I think that's it because the front ones are taken up by the faceplate. So you can bring everything back, go into object mode. It's still not perfect, but what we're going to do is we're going to just take this in edit mode and scale Shift Z until it bumps right up against those. And this is okay, that little gap right there, because these actually do curve down a little bit. You can actually see on the real machine there's a little bit of a curve on those edges. But now we have this rim which sticks up just slightly. I might even bring it up just a little bit higher because you can kind of see it looks like it's a little bit above the red. And then we'll take this bottom edge loop, extrude, scale it in. Well, go back to median point, scale it in. I actually kind of like that curve there on the bottom. So let's just extrude again, scale 0. Put an edge loop in there. Why is that? Well, let's try to merge them, I guess. There we go. Let's just make sure this object looks correct. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, those normals were weird, but I guess it was because there's all these vertices trying to fight for the same place. Okay, so we have that. Now we want to create the glass. And the glass is going to sit inside this. So I'm going to start with the glass by choosing this rim. I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate it, right click to let go. I'm going to hit P to separate, and you can think of that as separate, the P in separate, and hit selection. I'm going to hit Tab to go out of edit mode, and then select just that ring. Go Tab to go into edit mode, and now we can use this as our glass. So the first thing I'm going to do is extrude it down a bit, so extrude Z, and just bring that down. Not too far, just right around there. Then I'm going to grab the top again, and now we're going to extrude up. So if we look at a gumball machine, it goes up for a pretty good amount, not quite as tall as the base. And remember, we're just eyeballing this, so it goes up, then it has a pretty sharp curve here, and this curve basically goes out to the same width as the base, maybe a little bit more, and then it gradually curves up to here. So using subdivision surface, we should be able to create this shape, no problem. So let's just go and do that. And the total height of the glass is probably the same as the total height to here. So just using those kind of internal mnemonics, we can see that this is about 2 tiles tall. So we want to extrude up less than 2 tiles tall. So we'll say 1.5. And then we'll extrude up, and we said that the extreme edges of the glass should go just a little bit past the base. So we'll go to right about here, because that's just a little bit past where the base goes. And then we said we want the total height to be roughly the same as the base. So this is 3 squares shy of 2 units. So 2 units would be, let's extrude again. 2 units would be right here. So we'll go 3 squares shy of that, which is right there. And then if you were to follow this curve or this angle, it would line up with the lid. So if we were to follow this, this should probably be like around there somewhere. Just eyeballing it because it's fun. Let's shade smooth. Let's crank up our subdivision. Now this one can probably come down to make this more aggressive of a curve. I feel like this should probably go a little bit smaller. Let's see. Probably like that, maybe. We can put an edge loop in here to kind of bring this out. An edge loop here to kind of tighten this curve on the bottom. And I feel like that looks pretty good. Just kind of, you know, I'm kind of glad I'm doing this eyeballing because it's a good exercise of just, you know, using your eye to see a shape and then try to recreate it. So one thing I'm seeing is this needs tightening. Whoops, right here. So we have this bit that curves out, gradually curves up, and then this is where we'll put our top piece. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to choose this. Well, make sure everything's deselected. I'm going to choose this edge loop, duplicate, right click to cancel, P for separation of selection, go into edit mode, grab this, object mode, grab this, go into edit mode. This will now be our top piece. So we will take this, and the way that this looks like is there's a bit of a rim, then it goes in, it curves, and then a little bit smaller than the coin slot, we have this little keyhole for refilling the machine. So let's do that. So extrude up, probably about there. I'm gonna hide this. Extrude, right click to cancel, scale in just a bit. Let's go into edit mode, shade smooth. It bothers me when everything is flat shaded. How tall should this be? So this should be a little bit, maybe double or 1.5 times this base piece. So let's see. This base piece is about 2 1/3. So we'll do 4 1/6 or something like that. So we already have a half of a unit here. So let's make this about 4 tall. So we'll go up to about here. Shrink this down. The coin mechanism is about 2.5. So that's good. That's a little bit smaller than 2.5. Extrude this up. Of course, we want to tighten it. And then we want to make this that kind of classic shape. How's that look? Probably a little bit too tall, but otherwise looking good. So I think, whoops, keep it solid. Make sure I'm in median point. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, scale Z. And then I'm going to make everything come down just a bit. I'm going to put a loop to tighten that and a loop to tighten this. I feel like I made it come in. This lip is too large, so I'll take these 2 edge loops, scale Shift Z, make it less noticeable. Let's see how that looks. Oops, there we go. That might be too much or too little, so let's go in and make it a little bit bigger, but not much. Perfect. All right, so this curve is not looking correct. It should be more flat on the top. So I can put another edge loop in here and just kind of bring that out. There we go, that looks good. I feel like it's still too tall, I think, especially after I added that last one, so let's just bring it down a bit. That's perfect. Maybe a little bit taller. A little bit shorter. Okay. We want this to be nice and tight. Why is this like this? Oh, okay, I see. So yeah, we probably don't need this one. Yeah, that looks fine. And then what this looks like, I don't have reference for this, but I've seen one of these machines in real life, so I'm just going to do it from memory. We're going to extrude this. And then extrude, grab Z, move it down a bit. And then extrude, scale in a bit. And what we want to do is just tighten these so they're nice and solid like that. We don't have to worry about tightening this one because we're going to put something in there. Now this we will call cap, and we already have a red paint we can use. This we will call glass, and it will need a new material called glass. And how are we doing? Oh, we're only at 15 minutes. Awesome. That means we can do more stuff in this one video. Now this piece we will use the same material as our faceplate because it's kind of a metallic material. Now I'm going to hide this temporarily, and for our glass, we want to thicken it. Now we can use a modifier here called solidify, and if we go this direction, it'll go inwards, and if we go this direction, it'll go outwards. We want to go inwards because this is sitting inside this rim. If we were to go outwards, it would overlap that rim. So we want to go inwards, and not by much. We want to basically go like, let's do 2 millimeters or whatever that is, because we want the glass to have thickness, but we don't want it to, what am I saying? Lost my train of thought. We don't want it to be too thick because we have to put gumballs in there. Maybe one more tick, and then I'm going to put, well, let's extrude this up just a little bit because that will go into the cap. All right, so, and then for glass, I'm just going to make its viewport color solid white. Let's save that. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is there's this kind of center bolt that goes all the way through the machine. And I've actually, like I said, I owned one of these as a kid, so I know how these work. Basically, there's a screw cap on here. And when you unscrew it, you can take this lid off, and then this whole glass comes off as well. So basically, this center post goes all the way through the center of the machine to the very bottom. And by screwing a bolt on here on the top, it clamps everything vertically down. Now, if you were doing this in a professional setting, this screw would be key activated, but the one that I had was just a regular flathead screwdriver. We'll use Phillips for a reason you'll see. It's a little bit easier to do, but let's go ahead and make that mechanism. Now, in Blender, let's hit save. If you go to Preferences and you go to Add-ons and you search for Bolt, you can have this add-on called Bolt Factory, and we're going to use that. So I'm just going to go, actually now that I look at this, I want to make my top just a little bit bigger. So luckily, it's easy to edit things in Blender. We're going to take both this piece and the top, go into edit mode, deselect everything, go into X-ray, select this, and when I'm looking at it zoomed out, it seemed like it was a little bit too narrow. So I'm just going to hit Scale, Shift Z, and do it like that. That's why it was looking too short, because there we go. Nice. Okay, that looks a lot better. I was wondering why I was like trying to make it too tall and it didn't seem right. It was because it should have been just a little bit bigger. And now that I'm looking at it from a zoomed out level, I see some other changes I can make. So this should be a little bit bigger. And now I feel like this should go in a little bit more. So there's more noticeable of a lip on there. And I feel like, let's see, this could go down a bit, but this could go out a bit. Actually, I think what I want to do is just bring this so it's like that. Yeah, I like that better. It should like really flatten out on the top. There we go. So that's that's why it's kind of fun doing this. Is just we're not doing strict measurements. We're just kind of eyeballing it as we go, which is a fun kind of thing to do. One other thing I want to do is make this a little bit smaller. And then on our cap, I want to, we need to actually make a bottom lip. So extrude, scale in, extrude, and scale in again. So now we have that bottom lip. And I think I can even make the glass even smaller. So now we have that kind of overhang where the glass goes into the cap. And so yeah, now you see there's that little bit where before it was a little bit too flush, but now it actually looks like the cap is on there. So there we go. Cool. But continuing forwards, I'm going to put my... I'm actually just going to go into our ref collection for now and hide the Gumball Machine collection or layer. And I'm going to hit Shift A, and because we added Bolt Factory, we can go down here to Bolt. And we have these bolt settings. So what I want to do is make the thread length pretty long, let's say 2 units. And then we want to make the shank length, arbitrarily long. That looks good. And then, yeah, that's fine. We'll leave it at that for now. So I'm going to go into edit mode with this. I'm going to put an edge loop here. Then I'm going to go into X-ray, delete all of these on the top because we don't care about them. I'm going to rotate 180 degrees so it looks like that. And then now I'll bring back our Gumball Machine. I'll take our bolt, put it in Gumball Machine, and bring it up. So this center post has threading at the top, then it stops and is smooth all the way to the bottom. And, we need to make it a little bit thinner, so let's scale this to about there. Bring it up to about there so we have that threading on the top, but then it goes smooth. So we'll just bring that all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to put a couple edge loops in there because you never want to stretch out faces too far. All right, and we will call this, I guess, center bolt. And we'll give it a new material called metal hardware. And now what we want to do is use the bolt generator again. So go back to our other collection. We're going to create another bolt. But this time we only care about the top. So, whoops. Let's do that again. We're going to make the top a dome. And we're going to make the bit type Phillips. And the bit diameter will make a little bit bigger. And that's fine. Go into edit mode. Go into X-ray mode. I don't know if we're in X-ray mode. There we are. Delete all of these because we only care about this bit right now. Shade smooth, but when you shade smooth, you can see it kind of messes with the shading of where the Phillips bit is. So we're going to go into edge mode, and we're going to select all of these edges. And we will also select these edges and the ones on the bottom. All right, I think that is everything. We're going to hit Control E and say Mark Sharp, and you can see those edges turn orange. Then what we'll do is we will go to Modifiers, create an edge split, and then choose Edge Sharp Edges. And so anywhere where we mark sharp edges, it won't try to smooth shade. And that makes the bit part look a little bit better. All right, so now we will bring back our Gumball Machine, put this in our Gumball Machine layer, and bring it up. It's obviously way too big, so let's go in here, choose this inner circle, Shift S, cursor to selected, in object mode, set origin to 3D cursor. So now we can scale it around itself. And we basically just want to put it inside this hole here. So basically like that. Maybe, so it should be flush with the top, but I will go into here and in X-ray mode, vertex, deselect everything. I'm going to grab these bottom ones and actually just bring it down so that it matches the depth of the bolt. And because we don't need Whoops. Let's hide these to be separate objects. I'm going to shade this one smooth, and then I'm just going to merge it into this one. So that can just be one object for now. And they'll all have the hardware material. And we got 5 minutes. So now there's like this little piece that kind of goes and wraps around that center post and goes out to the edge. So let's see if I can rapidly create that. All right, so to create this piece, we still have our 3D cursor centered, so I'm going to add a circle. And this circle we will use an octagon again. And just like before, we need to rotate it 22.5. I'm going to scale it down till it's approximately about the size of the bolt, I guess. And then we want to create 4 arms that come out and go to the sides. So I'm just going to like super lazily do that. I'm not being super like worried about making this perfect. So I'm going to bring this down here, go into X-ray mode. It should be right about here. I'm going to extrude it up so it has a little bit of thickness. I'm going to go into face mode, choose this face, extrude it out about that far. Then I'm going to shear. I don't know the shortcut for this, so I'm just going to hit F3 and look at shear, which allows you to not do what I was hoping. There we go. You have to hit Y. So it allows us to bend this, but not rotate it. Because if I were to just rotate, you'll see what happens is it bends the top and bottom lines because they're going up and down. But if I hit shear, which is apparently Shift Control Alt S, let's try that. Shift Control Alt S, there we go. And then hit the Y axis, you can see it'll allow me to do that shape, which is pretty much exactly what I want. So now I will extrude again. And probably I want to move everything in a bit. And let's see, I don't know, I feel like I don't want this to be as thick as it ended up. How can I fix that? I guess there's no real easy way. But luckily this is a minor detail that I don't really care about that much, so I'm just going to move those forwards. Alright, and technically this should go like that, but no one's ever going to see this part of the machine, so I'm not even going to worry about it. So now that we have this shape, I'm actually going to delete the rest of the octagon. The reason why I put it there was just so that I could have this shape be lined up correctly, because now I'm going to just duplicate this, rotate 90, whoops, go into cursor mode, so it's rotating around our 3D cursor, rotate 90, duplicate, rotate 90, duplicate, rotate 90, whoops. So now we have the same arm on all 4 sides. Go into face mode, delete these, oh, they're already deleted, perfect. We'll just go into edge mode and connect these edges. I find it hard to believe. Let's see, is that really the case? Yeah, there's no face there. Okay, cool. I was worried that there'd be a face on the insides of these. So we're going to go and do that. Now, I'm not going to even bother with subdivision surface on this. So in order to make it look more rounded, I'm going to manually do it. So I'll just put 2 edge loops there on each of these. Then I will select those faces. Because this is such a small detail, you won't even really see it on camera that much. So I'm just going to scale with Shift Z until that looks about a circle. That looks fine. I will shade smooth everything, which will break everything, but we'll fix that. I will take this inner edge loop, extrude, scale 0. Put an extra edge loop in there just for good measure. Whoa. Oh, because we're still scaling around the cursor. That's a mistake I make a lot. You know, I'm doing a lot of cursor scaling operations and I forget to change it. So let's scale. And then scale 0. Do the same thing on the bottom. Actually, we don't even need to fill this because, yeah, let's undo that. I'm actually just going to extrude both of these at the same time, scale them in, and with loop tools, make them a circle, and just kind of rotate the circle until it's about correct. I wonder if it's 22.5. No. What is it? It's about 11.25 degrees or something like that. Those don't have to be perfect because these are going to just go around where the bolt is anyways. So now that that's like that, I'm just going to put a bevel on here because I think that will make the shading look a little bit better. Yeah, perfect. So we'll just do a tiny little bevel, something like that. And for this object, for what it is, I'm just going to hit apply, and that's good enough. I mean, this is such a small detail. We will just call this piece I don't know what this is. We'll call this lid clamp because it kind of, or we'll call this glass clamp because this holds the glass down. And this will have a material called plastic because if I recall correctly, actually no, we'll just reuse the faceplate material. It should be metal. I think mine was plastic, maybe the one that I had when I was younger, but whatever. Okay, so now if we hide everything, perfect. So in the render, you won't be able to see the tops of these. Doesn't really matter where they go, but we now have this basic mechanism which holds the glass down. And maybe I should have made that curve more aggressive, but fuck it. We're already at 30 minutes, so that'll do it for today. Yeah, so in our next episode, we will generate all of the gumballs and then use physics to populate this. And then at that point, we will start also working with materials and trying to get this to look a little bit better. So join me next time in part 6 for setting up materials and getting physics simulation for those gumballs working. Remember to like, comment, subscribe.